Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fear and Greed Business Headlines. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, but we pick out the biggest story of the week, our favourite story, the sleeper story, one that's probably not getting the attention that it deserves, and the most remarkable story of the week. So let's get into it. What was the biggest story, do you reckon?
Well, for mine, it was Omicron not actually undermining the economy and the fact that the Australian economy, at least, is looking really good. Now, cases of Omicron are rising and the level of daily new cases in South Africa, where it originated, are soaring. It looks like the variant is spreading through Europe as well. But hospitalisations aren't rising anywhere near as much. And so far, people with the variant have developed relatively mild symptoms. The Reserve Bank is really comfortable with it. In fact, the board met on Tuesday, its final gathering of the year. It left the official cash rate on hold, no surprises there. But it's really upbeat about the economic recovery, and it doesn't think Omicron will derail markets. It's confident that high vaccination rates and low interest rates will support the pickup. Households are spending more, businesses are investing more. Inflation pressures are less in Australia than other economies, the bank says. The bottom line in all this is that the official cash rate is still on hold for quite some time, and Omicron hasn't derailed financial markets.
Yeah, that is a big story. I was going to suggest the rapid slowdown in the housing market, but that's been happening for weeks, so there's nothing really new there. It's hard to beat the state of the Australian economy, so I think you've got that one. What was the most remarkable story for you, Sean?
Well, what's happening in the buy now, pay later market, I think, is pretty remarkable. Earlier in the week, the sector was dumped by investors, though it did recover, particularly Zipco, which staged a remarkable comeback in share price terms at least. Then through the week, the federal government and the Reserve Bank hinted that more needed to be done to regulate the major players, and it looks like buy now, pay later companies will be forced to allow merchants to impose surcharges on customers to help recover the cost of those transactions. This is a section in transition. It's still really young, but there are too many players. There's question marks over the credit quality of buy now, pay later users. Regulation is coming. Remember, the owners of Afterpay sold out at $97 a share, even though a few months before, the company was trading at $155 a share. Maybe they knew something the rest of us didn't. It's not the end of the buy now, pay later market, but the turnaround in the sector's fortunes is quite remarkable.
That is a remarkable story, but it's hard to top this one. Sean, what do you actually have to do to get sacked successfully in this country? Apparently, it's not quite enough to call your boss a wanker in a Microsoft Teams meeting, burp in a colleague's face, intimidate junior employees. This story was out of Darwin. A recruiter at a labour hire firm was stood down with pay and then fired after complaints from other staff. The Fair Work Commission this week ruled that while the actions were serious and aggressive, they didn't meet the criteria for serious misconduct, and the dismissal was actually deemed to be unfair due to procedural flaws. Now, the thing was here, this staffer was awarded $6,000 because she was sacked without notice. There are such strict laws around these things, and this is a pretty crazy example of what can happen in what you'd think should be a really straightforward case. So for me, that's remarkable.
You get that one. I agree with you.
All right, can I go first on the sleeper story of the week?
Sure.
This is just extraordinary. In the US, a court ruled this week that a man has to pay a penalty of $100 million. He described that as a remarkably good outcome. Sounds pretty bizarre, but the court case was actually about whether the Australian computer scientist Craig Wright owed any money to his former business partner who has since died. The thing is, these guys claimed to have been the inventors of Bitcoin. Nobody up till now has known for sure who actually created Bitcoin because it was done under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, Satoshi Nakamoto has 1.1 million Bitcoin worth a casual $55 billion US or thereabouts. Anyway, the family of Craig Wright's late business partner claimed that they'd worked together to create Bitcoin and then Mr. Wright had effectively stolen it. The court rejected most of the claims, but did award the family $100 million in intellectual property rights. Craig Wright is very happy to pay this because he says the ruling confirms that he is indeed the creator of Bitcoin. Otherwise, there would have been no intellectual property to infringe and there would have been nothing to pay. So effectively, he keeps the 1.1 million Bitcoin. It is the sleeper story because it's effectively confirmed where Bitcoin came from and nobody's really talking about it.
Yep, I'll give you that one. Can't beat that one. Great story.
And finally, Sean, then what was your favourite story of the week?
It was about a company called Neuron Pharmaceuticals. It's had a drug in phase 3 trials for the treatment of Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome afflicts kids from about the age of 6 months, and they gradually lose coordination, speech, and the use of their hands. This is the first time there's been a drug making it this far through that could actually alleviate the symptoms and perhaps a little bit more. The fact that it made phase 3 drug trials, it means it's close to coming to market. Fantastic story. The share price of Neuron's up about 125% over the past 3 days. But the really best part of this is the fact that kids will be better.
Yeah, that's a feel-good story, that one. I agree. That is a top story from the week. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
There we go. 5 minutes, pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and we look forward to your company then.